Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Welcome to the 49ers Now podcast with L and BP. We're recording this on Tuesday night after what I'd have to say was a somewhat upsetting Sunday afternoon and evening. L, I'm not too sure what was more depressing, the 49ers game or that Breaking Bad episode.
I think the combination of the two. I made the horrible decision of coming home from the Niners game. I was already basically dead inside, and watching Breaking Bad, which, was the worst decision anyone could have made. That was a bad Sunday night. It's magnified by the fact that we're good now. We're an elite team. So we go into every game, or at least I do, thinking, we're going to come out with a win. And, when not only you don't come out with a win, but you really get trounced, it makes for a bad night. It's kind of like Marley and Me. You're watching Marley and Me. You love Marley. Everything's going great.
See, I should have pulled a Marley and Me last night because I quit that movie before the end because I don't know, it wasn't on purpose, but I really did not want to see them kill the dog on Sunday night, and I hung around too long.
Yeah. Once that dog dies, it's just game over. And on Sunday night for me, Marley died at the end of the Niners game, and then I went home and watched Breaking Bad. It's like Marley dies 10 more times.
Yeah,
so
it's like Marley's litter.
Right, exactly.
Gets massacred. Dude, Shelby hates when animals, particularly dogs, die in movies. 500 people could die. And she wouldn't bat an eye, but as soon as a dog dies, she's like, in Fruitvale, when the pit bull gets hurt,
yeah,
she's freaking out. But there's this website called doesthedogdie.com. Literally just shows you a crying puppy or a happy puppy. And it just tells you just look up the name of your movie and it tells you whether a dog dies in it or not.
We need www.dotheNinersGetSmokedTonight.com because, coming off that big win in Green Bay, you're going into this game, everyone's all fired up, the eternal optimist thinks we're going to smoke every team we play, and then we don't, and you just fall off a cliff. I watched Marley and Me with Kelly. Literally, when we got done with the movie, I had to get her an IV bag. She was dehydrated. She was crying so much. And I wasn't that bad on Sunday after the Niners game. The combination of Breaking Bad and the Niners, though, that was bad. No crying, but it was bad.
We need that website for 49ers games, I guess. We need the almanac from Back to the Future so we know what happens.
Yeah. Doesthedogdie.com. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, so back to the Niners game. There are a lot of disappointing things in the game, but, the penalties. I don't get it. You would think this would be a disciplined team, and, they were called for 4 personal fouls. They had 12 penalties for 121 yards. I briefly mentioned it last week. They were, highly penalized in the Green Bay game. We just overlooked it because we won, but they can't keep getting these penalties.
Yeah, listen, we can't keep getting those penalties. That's true. But, the Bruce Miller holding the end zone, which led to a safety. I looked back at it. If he hadn't have held, it probably would have been a safety anyways. Yeah. So what are you going to do there? And then the personal foul on Alden when he popped the guy in the face. It was like a nothing. And the ref just caught him, wrong time, wrong place. But I thought worse than the penalties was, our non-existent run game. It wasn't non-existent to the extent that Kaepernick was able to run the ball actually pretty well.
Yeah, but he didn't even really start trying to until the second half. It was pretty clear that they were respecting Seattle's defense and they weren't going to run the read option that much. And I don't know if it's an early strategy to try and protect Kaepernick because, he's crucial to our entire season. But, he's looking to pass first, and there were a couple plays where he clearly could have picked up the first down, and he tried to force in a pass or had an incompletion. But, the second half he picked it up, tried to run more, but yeah, no, the running game was non-existent. And this goes back, I think Seattle's a team that you can typically, if you have a back who can, beat them to the edges, you can run on them. And LaMichael James being injured really hurts us. That really hurt us in that game. And the defensive backs were just able to sit on the receivers and shut down, Bolden and everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what, maybe you have Gore's stat line, but I think it was something like, 9 carries for 16 yards or something. I mean, basically, we've got to get the run game going, because if they can just sit on pass all day, then that's going to allow them to do what they did last game, which is essentially just, shut down Bolden and shut down VD.
Yeah, they have to keep them honest for sure. And, I don't know. I honestly didn't have, other than the penalties, many qualms with the defense because, the injuries they sustained and how many minutes they were on the field up until the very end. I think they did a really respectable job. I mean, you can't expect your defense to be on the field that long. They just, in the NFL, it's not going to happen. They're going to eventually allow points. I don't know how many minutes they were on the field. I can look it up, but it's way too much. The offense needs to, get some first downs, drive the ball a little bit, let the defensive players rest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one way to. I mean, I agree with that to a certain extent. I mean, I see other issues. I think basically, I think Nnamdi is not the player he used to be in any way, shape, or form. To say that he only lost a step, I think, is an understatement. I mean, he was making Golden Tate look like he was Jerry Rice out there. I mean, even though Russell Wilson didn't find Golden Tate on a lot of those plays, I mean, if you go back and look at the tape, I mean, he's wide open.
I have Golden Tate on my fantasy team. I was very thrilled by that.
Yeah. But I mean, like that terrible pass interference call, Nnamdi had no choice but to interfere because, I mean, he was getting smoked. And
honestly, though, I don't know. If I were dating Kerry Washington or married, I think they're married, I would probably be distracted. But, yeah, a step, 2, 3, I don't know what he's lost. But he's not the answer. I know that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think Seattle just watched that. Well, obviously, they watched the Green Bay game. They saw that Aaron Rodgers threw to his side literally 150 times. And, they did the same. Well, he actually didn't get thrown to that much, but he was open a lot. And it was a bad matchup for us, obviously. And I think in moving forward, teams are just going to go to his side all the time. I think, when Chris Culver got hurt, that didn't get a lot of run and even the local media, but definitely not the national media. But that's a huge blow to the Niners because I think Nnamdi is several steps down.
No, I agree. It was just a little too early, I think, for that to get a ton of press. But, yeah, it's a huge blow. And, I mean, it obviously didn't help that our, star rookie safety went out with a concussion with a lot of time left on the clock. I feel like they started throwing that way even more once he was out of the game.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, again, though, when he was in the game, I mean, he had that good interception. I mean, granted, the receiver fell down essentially, but he had another good game, at least for when he was in there. And then, he essentially knocked himself out of the game. I mean, that was him making the hit, but he came up, thinking he was Batman. I mean, he just looked so out of it. It was absurd, but.
I was worried the injury was worse at first because he wasn't really moving. But
to be honest, the camera
angle was bad, so you couldn't really see what was going on.
Yeah, I thought that he had separated his shoulder or something. That's what it looked like to me. But then, when he got up, and he just looked dazed and confused. So, I mean, I can't say that that's a good thing, but at least he'll have an opportunity to get back on the field soon.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to give credit to Seattle fans and atmosphere, and that place is nuts. I would kind of love to see a game there. I don't know if I could ever bring myself to do it, but
yeah, I mean, listen, that's as I mentioned last week, it's probably, well, actually, I would say definitely that's the hardest place to play in the entire NFL. But they're just getting too into it. They're making too much out of it. The fact that, it got all this press that, they set the world record for the most crowd noise. Yeah, who cares? That's like the world record for, the longest toenails or something stupid like that. I mean, it's just they're making too much out of it. And but that being said, I mean, it's real. That is a humongous home field advantage. And I know that the Niners need to do everything they can to make sure that we do not have to travel to Seattle in the playoffs, because that is, as much as I'm, downplaying it, that is hands down the biggest home field advantage in the NFL, possibly the biggest home field advantage in all of sports. Whatever they're doing there is working. The only situation I can think of that would be worse than traveling to Seattle is the NFL team out of Washington, D.C. playing a game at like a Native American reservation. Because let's say that name, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but that name, the R word, is so goddamn racist. It's unbelievable that in 2013 that's still the name of the team.
And the owner basically said it was a non-starter in the offseason. I remember all that hoopla. I mean, it's baffling to me. The city changed the name of their basketball team from the Bullets because of all the gun violence in a country where mass shootings are the norm. But, to just not bat an eye at that team name is kind of baffling to me. I think that it should definitely be addressed, but yeah.
But anyways.
It comes down to money and marketing.
Yeah, obviously, as does everything in the NFL.
Yeah. But yeah, so real quick to wrap up on Seattle, I mean, I agree with you. We can't give them, home field advantage would be pretty devastating to us. But, we would pretty much, I think, have to pray that they lose in the first round and we wouldn't have to play them, I guess. But
we just don't want to see it. We don't, if there's any possible way we cannot play them at home ever again, that would be best case scenario.
Yeah, and but Seattle fans think they're on their high horse. It's the second game of the season.
Well, listen. They're a very good. They are a very good team. They are a very good team. When they're at home, they are an unbelievably good team.
No, I agree, and I see a couple things coming. They weren't that great on the road last year. They're going to have to prove themselves on the road, or they're not going to get home field advantage. And honestly, on the bright side, something similar happened to us last year, and we were in the Super Bowl 4 weeks later, or a month later, or 6 weeks later, however long it was. But so, it's not like this is unprecedented.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, last year, though, everyone – it's like there's two constants, basically. There's the team, the Seattle Seahawks, and the fact that we played them at home the last two games, the last two times we faced them. But everyone last year was like, oh, we got smoked, but we got smoked because, Justin Smith didn't play that game. But now we know, we have more data points to be able to say, that's probably not the case. It's more so that they're a good team, and when they play at home in their stadium, they're a phenomenal team. And, we just need to do everything we can not to have to play them there in the playoffs.
A little funny tidbit I heard. Did you hear that Russell Wilson took a shower?
Yeah, I did hear that, and that's so it just seems so absurd to me. There's a million different things I could think of to do to pump myself up, if I have a delay in, the game like they did on Sunday night. And taking a shower is like number, 900 on that list.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you didn't get one in before the game. I don't know, but I guess it's better. I think some of our players went and took a nap, so.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever he did, it worked. Well, really, actually, it didn't work. He didn't have that good of a game.
No, I mean, like I said, our defense for the most part played well for the majority of the game. They were just on the field too long. I mean, and they got stupid penalties. There were a couple times when they basically had them stopped and then got a stupid penalty, and you can't give them free yardage, particularly when you're down.
Yeah, I mean that, and again though, we have serious problems stopping Marshawn Lynch. I think next time we play him, it will be a little bit better because I'm sure Dante Whitner literally wants to rip his head off after he did that little dance, walk, whatever that was, into the end zone.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy has great games against us, and that's something that we need to focus on next time we play them.
He's my only good player in our fantasy league on my terrible football team.
Yeah.
I think I'm already battling to not be one of the two people that has to pay extra for being in the last two positions.
Yeah. But I mean, again, it's weird when you have a fantasy stud like that who crushes against the Niners, right? Because I always feel like shit because I started him in the first place. You can't celebrate that win.
Right. No, I agree. So, but yeah, and I don't want to dwell on it too much, but moving forward, just injury wise, I mean, hopefully the Vernon Davis, I'm assuming he'll suit up, strained hamstring, but I haven't really seen any reports on whether he's active or not at all. And same thing with Eric Reed. We definitely need them back.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny about VD's strained hamstring because when I looked at that interception, that Richard Sherman interception, I was basically screaming at the TV, Vernon's got to go back on that ball. It turned out that, that's when he got injured and he probably
he pulled up.
Yeah,
for
physically
sure.
Couldn't move back on the ball, but yeah, I mean, if we can talk about Richard Sherman for a second. Listen, the guy is a stud. He is a stud. I mean, he locked down Bolden.
So you having any second guesses on your Gushers analogy?
No, not at all. I mean, I still...
He had a great first game. No show in the second one.
I mean, listen, I think he balled out of his mind in the first game. He got completely shut down in this game. He's probably somewhere in between the two, but I still think he's closer to the first game than this game. I think he's a playmaker through and through. I think Richard Sherman, going back to what I was saying just a second ago, he's the real deal. He talks, which, similar to Rex Ryan. I mean, somewhere it happens to every single one of these guys who talks. Just going up and down the line, everyone from Rex Ryan to Ocho Cinco to T.O. to Cortland Finnegan, they talk and they're great players, but at a certain point, two things happen. One is you have a terrible game, or two is you lose a step and you're not an elite player anymore. And then you perpetually have egg on your face.
Yeah.
Because, you're talking, I mean, I guarantee you a huge story at some point in this season is someone who Richard Sherman is assigned to is going to go off and have 2 or 3 touchdowns in 150 yards in that game. And the media is just going to be all over Richard Sherman wanting to see his reaction. So Richard Sherman is a perfect example of someone that I would absolutely love if they were on the Niners. If he was on the Niners, I would love him because I do think he is one of the best at his position, if not the best right now. I do like that he talks, although I know it would be a distraction if he was on the Niners. But
yeah, well, there's all the media speculation on what really the deal is between he and Harbaugh, and I just find it amusing. They seem to it's fun to just listen to them try and goad each other, and it's obvious that, I mean, the whole thing in the media after the fact, have you seen the video clip? First of all, they're in a stadium where they just broke the Guinness Book of World Records. Harbaugh's walking off the field,
right.
just got his ass handed to him, so he's not happy. And Sherman sprints up, taps him on the butt, says
and then
something,
sprints away. Yeah.
And Harbaugh actually turns and says something. Who knows what he says? But he had no idea who touched him. And then Sherman spends the next day talking about how Harbaugh dissed him. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Sherman just talks just to talk. You know, I mean, he talks just to talk. I mean, he is funny though. Sometimes he is funny. He got in a fight with Skip Bayless. I don't know if you remember that. I think last summer. Which was pretty funny. I mean, sometimes he's funny, but yeah, I had the same reaction as you. I went back and watched the tape, and it's almost like he's playing hide and go seek. He just runs up and taps Harbaugh and then sprints off as quick as he can. So yeah, I thought that was much ado about nothing, basically.
And most importantly, the most telling part of his whole statement is that he said that he went to congratulate Harbaugh. Yeah, that's really the moment when you want to congratulate somebody. They're going to be really thrilled that you came to, But, yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, he had a great game. He's a great player. I just don't want to play him at home again.
Yeah, but I think, the Seahawks are slowly but surely going to become the most hated team in the NFL. I mean, Russell Wilson is actually very likable. Not controversial. In fact, boring as hell. But the combination.
You don't know what was happening in that shower.
Well, that's true. Maybe he's controversial. Who knows? But the combination of Richard Sherman being, for lack of a better term, a D, and Pete Carroll just so smug. I think, as long as that gets enough media run, give them a couple weeks and they'll be the Cowboys of the 90s.
I will give him a little credit, though. When he went pro from USC, I really thought that he was going to tank. So.
Yeah, I mean.
And, it is better for us that, the NFC West, I mean, as long as we make the playoffs, the NFC West is now a really good division. I mean, 5 years ago, it was like bottom dweller, so.
I don't know if it is better than whatever. It's fine for us. I do not want to play in Seattle in the playoffs. And you know who you're talking to. You're talking to the eternal optimist of eternal optimists. Yeah, I do not want to play there in the playoffs. I'd
like to hear you talk yourself up for that game if it ever happened.
Yeah, no, I don't even know if I could get out of bed that week. I would be shaking in my boots. That's a true statement. Was that game where they beat the Saints a couple years ago where they were the wild card? Was that in Seattle? No, it couldn't have. I don't think that could have been in Seattle.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, I think you were bringing up.
Maybe it was. Yeah, no, I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, you told me you mentioned that Harbaugh was at your high school.
Yeah. It seems like we're bringing up Palo Alto High School every single podcast now. But there is the Harbaugh connection, and he did actually truly happen to be there on Friday night. I'm still not exactly sure why. I mean, he does have a connection to the team. Earl Hansen, the coach of Pally football, his son is a linebackers coach, I believe, for the Niners. And Harbaugh may even have played for Earl Hansen when he was at Pally. For all I know, Earl Hansen has been the coach there since like 1896. But anyways, yeah, he was back. He was doing his normal thing. I saw a clip on the news. He was just cheesing, wearing a Pally hat. The other thing is, I mean, I guess the reason he was there is they kind of revamped the field. It seems like all they did was get a new snack bar. So I don't know why that, warranted Harbaugh coming out for the game. But one thing I do know is that the quarterback this year for Palo Alto High School is the son of the 49ers quarterbacks. The 49ers quarterbacks coach's son is the quarterback this year for Pally, and he's he's a big time recruit, I guess, for colleges. I think
maybe he's just trying to get them while they're young, man.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully Harbaugh.
College basketball coaches are recruiting like 12-year-olds now, so 9-year-olds.
Yeah. No, I mean, maybe that was it. But anyways, I got a kick out of that since we did mention that last week, and then he shows up on Friday night. So I thought that was interesting. One other place actually that he showed up this weekend was in my email inbox. One of my buddies who listened to our podcast from week 1 sent me a clip. This is classic, just Harbaugh weirdness. I somehow missed this story. I don't know if it got a lot of run. I guess it actually took place over the summer. But I just heard about it when I got this email this weekend. I guess Jim Harbaugh, and his father are completely obsessed with Judge Judy. As random as that sounds, I have no idea why.
Yeah, that's a totally typical obsession. I'm sure everybody has that.
Right. But so anyway, so there's this incredible clip. I guess the two of them went to a taping of the show this summer, I guess. And, the clip is basically just Judge Judy doing her thing. She's yelling at the litigants, if you can even call them that. I mean, I'm assuming it's all fake, in her courtroom. And then they show this classic clip of Harbaugh and his dad just cheesing from ear to ear, looking like he's literally going to jump out of his seat with excitement. And then the story I got that I received from my buddy, I guess Harbaugh had some quote where he was saying, he loves Judge Judy and he wants Judge Judy to come reciprocate and, sit in on a 49ers practice. The whole thing makes zero sense, but that's why the guy is so incredible. I mean, he's just I don't even know what to make of the story, but I love it. To me, it's just typical Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're going to have like a steady segment on this podcast each week to address all the craziness that happens with Harbaugh.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's not as fun when we lose, which, we haven't done that often since he's been the coach, and hopefully we won't do
it's never
at all
twice
anymore.
in a row, has it? I don't think so.
No.
So we're good. We're good this week.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll have some good quotes this week. He has a serious man crush on Andrew Luck, so I'm sure once.
So he's going to get excited when Andrew runs up and taps him on the butt. He's not going to give him the cold shoulder.
Yeah. I don't think Andrew Luck is as quick as Richard Sherman, so maybe Harbaugh can at least see him when he turns around. But I'm sure he'll have some good quotes about Luck after we beat them down.
Yeah, I feel like with Harbaugh and all the drama he always has with people and just interesting stories, like we could literally build a reality show around him. Do you watch The Challenge?
I don't. Is that I'm a big Real World guy.
Yeah.
My brother Jay loves Road Rule. Is that where does Road Rules still exist?
I don't think so, but they basically take people from both shows, throw them in a jungle or something. They all kind of have sex.
Shit out of each other?
Yeah, they all kind of have sex in the house, and then they like have a competition each week and eliminate people, but they like pit them, and like the two people that get voted in to sort of the challenge end up doing all kinds of things. Like they get padded up and do essentially like the what's it called, the Nebraska drill, while another guy tries to get by the two people hitting each other to ring a bell and stuff like that. I feel like we could like take Harbaugh and all the people who hate him and just throw them on this show, and it would be the most classic thing ever. You could get Pete Carroll, you get Schwartz from the Lions. I mean, I think the list, Sherman, obviously. We can throw John on there. There's got to be some little latent resentment for the Super Bowl, and maybe you throw in a plot line where they like team back up later. They like form a little pact to like win whatever the prize is, and they obviously don't need money, but.
Yeah, I mean, my brother has been telling me how incredible this show is for years now. He watches it religiously.
Oh, it's priceless.
But I mean, the other great thing about throwing Harbaugh into that mix is he is as you know, a competitive nut. But I actually have an incredible story from one of my buddies that I work with told me this story. He went to Stanford. He's a big Stanford fan, and he's just a Harbaugh fan in general. And I guess the story is that Harbaugh was having his team, he was having Stanford essentially run up mountains. That's how they were training in the offseason. And they were like on the verge of death. And Harbaugh was like, come on, this is nothing. I can do this for the next 5 hours. And so Harbaugh was just running up and down the mountain, literally barfing. He was so exhausted, but he's just such a competitive maniac that he was just running up and down, barfing, pretty consistently, and that motivated the team and got him going. So
that's awesome.
I think if he was to compete in the challenge, he might actually murder someone in the challenge. So maybe it's not a good idea, but I like where your head's at there.
How you doing on fantasy? You have a good week or not really?
I did have a good week. Another dominant performance.
You want to share the love, man? Jeez. I figured you started your all-Niners team and had a bad week.
Yeah, the Niners did not come through for me this week. Obviously, I had VD and Bolden both starting, neither of which did much of anything. Obviously, our entire team only scored 3 points. But, I had some other guys like Randall Cobb. Actually, RG3, even though it's all in garbage time, I think still got me 30 points.
Yeah, he put up a lot of points late for sure.
Yeah. I actually started the Raiders D, which is just incredible.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
But they were playing Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So,
that's actually a good strategy. Like, just start whoever's playing Jacksonville all year long.
Yeah.
Did you see their helmets? The ugliest helmets I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That team is an absolute mess. Why they wouldn't bring in Tebow at this point is beyond.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing I did want to touch on. I'm so tired of hearing his name, and I almost refuse to say it on this podcast, but in their situation, they have nothing to lose.
He has a direct dial to God, and that is exactly what they need.
They need a miracle for sure.
Yeah, they are so terrible. And
I'm just terrified that that's going to be the first football team that Los Angeles gets in like 20 years. They're going to end up in LA, and my God, that's a bad football team.
Yeah, but it was actually funny. Just so you know how it works in the Bay, unfortunately, when the Raiders are playing on CBS, they can't put another game on Fox. During the day, I wasn't at a bar, where there's NFL Sunday Ticket and they get every single game. I was just at the house.
Right.
So I was essentially forced into watching the Raiders game, and it's hilarious hearing the commentators speak. They're like, yeah, Blaine Gabbert might not be the answer right now, so that's why they have Chad Henne. And do you think Chad Henne is the answer?
Yeah, they were
incredible.
And I think I was tuned in for a moment, and they were talking about how it's like his last great shot. Like Chad Henne has a shot. They're like, he's gonna play like he's gonna turn around his career.
It's incredible. I actually heard a story at work. One of my buddies at work on Monday was telling me that there was a TV station, local TV station in Orlando.
That's what I was about to bring up. So how like a TV station has, like you're watching CBS, it says today's 3 games are, and it shows you the 3 games. Yeah. And they play a game based on your region. Well, that station, because they're in Jacksonville, was forced to play. I think it was a local CBS affiliate.
It was in Orlando, but it's close enough.
Yeah, okay. They were forced to play that game, and they literally apologized publicly to their viewers.
No, what I heard was that during the game, you know how if you're watching a Niners game and there's there's no tornadoes in California, but just say you're somewhere watching a football game and there's a tornado.
The sirens went off and flashing across the screen.
But they had the little thing going across the bottom of the screen that was like, we're sorry that you have to watch this, while Eli's playing Peyton, which is just... you're on a terrible team if your local station is apologizing for having to put you through that game.
It's a borderline natural disaster. I'm sure.
Yeah, Raiders Jacksonville, it doesn't get much worse than that.
Oh, yeah, I don't think you could pay me to watch that game.
I watched a solid half, I would say, but I had no options. It was either Raiders, Jacksonville, or let Kelly take the controller and watch Real Housewives of Cincinnati. So I went.
I would be all over the Housewives. You don't get Red Zone?
No, I don't get it because I'm really never watching the games at home. I had to do some work early on Sunday morning, so.
See, I typically, unless it's like the Niners, I'm on Red Zone, and then if there's a big primetime game, I'll jump over and watch it and jump back to Red Zone when it's on commercials. I think this week it was on Red Zone, and when it hit the Raiders game, I would try to find another game worth watching and then come back to Red Zone. So I kind of did it in reverse, but
yeah,
same idea.
Yeah.
So this week, my man, what you thinking? We're going to come back out and make a statement, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're obviously going to be – I mean, everyone's pissed off. The team's pissed off. It's the Colts' worst nightmare to get the Niners this week. I mean, my take on the Colts – I mean, listen, RG3 and Kaepernick, although he should, Kaepernick's the goddamn man, as we know. And Russell Wilson, they get all this look from the national media about how good they are. And I get that. I mean, they're exciting players to watch, and they are good players. But I think that Andrew Luck, for the most part, got somewhat overlooked. Even though what Andrew Luck did is absolutely incredible. I mean, Kaepernick's obviously coming into a good team with the Niners, although Kaepernick is phenomenal. Russell Wilson is good. He's coming into a good team with a great defense. So he's always kind of going to be in the game. I mean, Andrew Luck came into a Colts team that was horrendous. I mean, they were terrible. I mean, before he got there, I think they won, one or two games?
Oh, they were terrible, yes.
They had no one.
And he made them a playoff team.
He comes in, his coach gets cancer, leukemia. I mean, his head coach leaves. He's with an interim head coach. He's a rookie and gets him to the playoffs. I mean, that is incredible because they are terrible. And they have a terrible O-line. He has no time to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And was still able to get him to the playoffs. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. But I think
all those people who were somewhat speculating whether they made the right choice, Luck, RG3, I mean, I don't think there's any question, particularly who knows if RG3 is ever going to be able to stay healthy, but he's obviously not healthy now. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I think Andrew Luck is a phenomenal player. I think it's just bad timing for the Colts. Oh, well, I think we're a much better team than the Colts. I think they do have a great quarterback in Andrew Luck, but I think the rest of the team is, average at best. I think without Luck, this team right now, this Colts team would probably be a 5 or 6 win team. With Luck, he gives them a chance to be in the mix. But I think, they're playing the Niners in a bad state of mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think they have the defense to really stop us, but it's going to be interesting how Nnamdi shows up this weekend. And, I mean, he may get exploited a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, teams are going to just keep throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing at Nnamdi until he proves that he can do something. I mean, our scheme can help him. And I think, Harbaugh and Vic Fangio are good at reacting to what happens in games and on the field. And, that they obviously know as well as we do that teams are going to go after Nnamdi. But, we need to adjust and help him out a little bit on his side. But, I think the Niners are going to come out mad and, they're going to play more so like we saw them play in Green Bay. We're at home again this week, which helps.
Yeah, I mean, I think our schedule, it's a tough schedule, but it's favorable in the sense that a lot of the tough games are at home.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing too is, listen, I mean, Andrew Luck is like Harbaugh's baby. He coached Andrew Luck for 3 years at Stanford. They obviously had a very close relationship. So Harbaugh knows, how this guy plays quarterback, how to defend against him, and I think that's definitely an advantage us. Luck may know how Harbaugh coaches, but I
think it's a much bigger advantage for Harbaugh.
Right, exactly. And I think that, I think basically, Fangio came from Stanford. Harbaugh came from Stanford. They'll be able to put their minds together and figure out a good, very, very good game plan as to how to stop Andrew Luck. And I think once you stop Andrew Luck, there's not much else there. I mean, they have very little running game. They have a couple receivers, who have some game. I mean, young receivers. I think Luck likes going to Fleener a good amount because of the Stanford connection. But their O-line is not good, whereas our defensive line is stellar. Their defense as a whole, I think, is just very average, maybe even below average.
Yeah, let's just hope we're able to establish the run early and then open up the offense a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's extremely important. We want to set a precedent for other teams, watching this game that, Gore is still a stud, and you have to pay attention to Gore and Hunter and other guys coming out of our backfield, because if we don't, they're going to be able to sit pass, and that's a problem. Even as effective as Kaepernick is as a runner, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier in this podcast, which is,
they can't afford. I mean, who's our backup quarterback? They can't afford for him to get injured.
Right. I mean, if Kaepernick goes out, it's hello Colt McCoy and goodbye
Colt McCoy
season.
Leading us to the promised land. I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I'm in favor of Kaepernick playing a little bit conservatively because we need him for the long haul, but we got to get Gore going. There's no doubt that we have to get Gore going.
I don't know. You may have to convince me otherwise. I just feel that the next few weeks until we have to get. I feel like we have two benchmarks on the season. If we can get Manningham back and we can get LaMichael James back, I think it will make our offense work so much easier. And it's just right now they're so limited option wise, and that's why I understand they want to protect Kaepernick. But if he just sits in the pocket all day, and granted, I will say Seattle has like the best secondary in the NFL, if not the best, one of the best. So obviously made it very tough on him to be a pocket passer. But if Gore's not going to run the ball well, Kendall Hunter's really just like a third down, fourth down back, really, and we need Cap to step up and run. And I know he did it this week, but it was kind of a little bit too late.
Yeah, I mean, he had 87 yards, but I do understand what you're saying. He didn't have as much impact as the game. They weren't as worried as, say, Green Bay was in last year's playoffs about Cap as a runner. And we need them worried about not only Cap as a runner, but we need them worried about Gore as a runner. We need them worried about Hunter as a runner. And, that's what's really going to open up the field for our receivers. I still think that VD is an absolute matchup nightmare for anyone, pretty much anyone on the field, because he's so big and so fast. And I think they have to pay attention to Bolden, which takes some of the pressure off VD. Bolden obviously had an incredible week one, but I think in moving forward, VD is the guy. VD is going to be our explosive playmaker. And Bolden, he's not a decoy by any means. He's a great player in his own right. But he's taking the pressure off VD, and I don't think it goes the other way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess the good thing about these podcasts are in past seasons when things would go wrong, I would text you and you would literally just ignore my text, which would make make me only more upset because not only were we losing, I was basically being stood up by you. But now you can't really ignore me on these things, so you actually have to kind of answer my questions, which is beautiful. But
yeah, I mean, listen, I'm as optimistic as they come, but I'm also not blind. We got smoked last week. That's what it is. They came out and they absolutely beat us down. Do I expect that to happen this weekend? Absolutely not.
Oh, no. I'm not really concerned about it happening this weekend. We just need to get healthy because when we play them again, I can't take it and blown out by them at home. Oh,
Yeah, I think they're a completely different team when they're not playing at home.
yeah, I agree. Wait, Seattle? You're talking about Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Then Russell's still young, so Russell Wilson, just like Cap.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have off games here and there. That's what was that, like Kaepernick's 11th start?
Right. I think it was just like
He's due at one bomb, and he was arguably the best offensive player we had on the field, and he even admitted himself that they're not going to win if he plays that way.
Well, look at Cap's stats versus every other team he's played in the NFL versus his stats just against the 2 games he's had against the Seahawks. It's like night and day.
Yeah.
But again, both of those times we were playing them at home in front of their Guinness Book of World Records setting, noise level. Come on, who cares? Who called the Guinness Book of World Records guy? That's what I want to know. Who called
Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll.
I want to set some stupid ass world record when they come visit the Niners, just to see if that gets any media run. Give me a break. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I don't know. What would it be for San Fran, the coldest day in the middle of August?
Yeah, most garlic fries consumed by a ginger.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, but it would be incredible.
A few predictions.
You want me to do the stupid spread thing again, which I know nothing about?
Yeah, just throw out a guess. The Niners just got smoked, but they're back at home against an arguably mediocre, good team, made it to the playoffs last year. I think most people kind of picked the Colts to regress a little bit and not make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, listen, the Colts just lost to the Dolphins, which the Dolphins I actually think are underrated. I think their defense is good, and I think Tannehill is pretty good. I'm a Mike Wallace guy too, so I don't know. I think they're better than people think they are, but the fact of the matter is that the Colts just lost to the Dolphins. I think in terms of a spread, we may actually even be helped by the fact that we just got smoked because, they'll take, or they should take account of the fact that, we're going to be angry and pissed off and wanting to prove that, we're a real contender here. If I was to guess the spread, I would say it's got to be Niners by, at least a touch. I guess I would say 7.5.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, probably 7.5.
Yeah.
I think they will probably win by double digits, 10-ish. Unless Luck pulls one of his late, fourth quarter heroics.
I think we can have our way with their defense because their defense isn't that good. But, we need to step our game up when we play these top-notch defenses like the Seahawks are. Whatever they call themselves, the Legion of Boom or whatever. Who cares? Get out of here. I don't even like that nickname. Yeah, but they are a good defense. They are a good defense.
So this is probably just where it opened. The spread probably moves some, but it says 10-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. If I was betting, I just would not bet on the Colts. You'd have to give me a lot of points, more than 10 points. I just don't think their defense is going to be able to stop what we're going to throw at them. And whatever they are going to try, they're going to try and stop one or the other, the run or the pass, if they're going to do either one effectively, or they're going to try and split the baby and they're going to do neither one effectively. But under both scenarios, I think, we really get after it.
Yeah, it moved half a point, so now it's San Fran 10.5.
It moved half a point in the last half minute?
No, I looked it up 2 separate places. So the article I read was probably the original line. But Another guess what the Seattle line is playing the lowly Jaguars.
Oh my God, 400. Do they even play that game? The Jacksonville should just forfeit. Is it at Seattle?
Yeah.
Realistically, that's got to be like a college line. That's got to be like, I'm not even joking, 17.5.
It's crazier now. I don't think I've ever. It's 20 points. It's a ridiculous NFL spread.
Yeah, I mean they're not taking into account the legend of Chad Henne, obviously.
I think they're.
Honestly, I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by that. I think Seattle at home, they are an absolute monster at home.
Yeah, no, they are. I saw. Are they going to bring the world record people back to see if they break it again?
Yeah, they should. They should. I guess they just have to be there now every game to see if they break their own record.
Real quick, Ellen, I would like to thank everybody who's been listening and let everyone know that the podcast is now available in the iTunes store for download. Surprisingly, we drastically undershot the estimate of 2 to 5 listeners. So previously it was only available on the website, but now you can go to iTunes store, you can subscribe through the website, and also we've had a lot of good interaction. So if you want us to talk about anything, we'd be happy to address it. Until next week, thanks everybody.